business minds and thought leaders share the secrets to success. Welcome to Call Me Successful.
Okay, I'm joined by Ross Pocock. Thanks for joining us.
No, pleasure to have me. I hear this is your first podcast.
It is. You're our first, which is so cool. Obviously, top 10 young finalist or top 10 financial advisor of the year in Australia, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so finalist top 10 young advisor of the year. Unfortunately, I don't fit in the young advisor anymore category, but last year I just scraped in. So
yeah, well, a win's a win. I once beat an 80-year-old rower in a 500-metre row by about half a second.
Mate, you got to take the wins while you can take the wins, can't you?
A win's a win.
Yeah.
So super excited to have you on board. We're going to talk all things real estate, all things investing, business, trust structures, all the like. So I think it's something that real estate agents really need is to understand, because financial literacy isn't really what we're taught. No one's really taught. It's not in our school systems.
It really isn't. It's not taught anywhere anymore. And like you say, it's not taught in schools. And I really think it should be. I think a lot of people would benefit a lot from it, from being taught.
Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so tell me about your financial journey. So when did you start getting into financial planning? You've been doing this for, I'd imagine, 4 or 5 plus years.
I've been a registered advisor since 2017, 2018. I got into it in a bit of a weird way. Didn't know anything about the finance world. My parents run a cleaning business and my mum got quite sick. So I went to university to ask them, had to help run the numbers on a business cleaning book, and they enrolled me in accounting. Unfortunately, accounting's quite boring. Sorry to any of the accountants out there. But yeah, I just found it wasn't right. And with that, I rolled into financial planning. And from the day I fell in love with it. At the end of the day, money is people's biggest stress. And the idea is to use money as a vehicle to achieve your dreams. There's no point piling up cash in the background if it's not for a purpose of achieving dreams. So when people come into the office and I get to actually show them, look, what you've got and maximising what you've got will help you achieve your dreams, it makes my job every day enjoyable.
Talk to us about Sternlight Financial.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Sternlight is the light on the back of a boat, and that helps boats navigate through rough seas, especially at night. So the idea behind the Sternlight Financial Advice was we help people navigate through rough seas, but we do it from behind. So the idea there is people don't see us. We're working for the client in the background, and they can live the lifestyle they want. They can enjoy the lifestyle they want while we're dealing with all the rocky seas in the background.
Sure, I like it. So obviously we've got you here today and we're talking real estate. It's obviously my niche and everything we're doing here at AKG. We have a big audience of real estate agents, and a lot of them make a lot of money.
Yep.
They make some good coin, and they live the lifestyle. And I think sometimes throughout that growth, they might start 18, 20, 25 years old without a sort of financial background. They start hustling, they start calling, they make their first few sales.
Yep.
All of a sudden the bank account starts rising, and then they start spending, but there's no real financial plan for them. So a big reason why we wanted to get you on was actually talk about this, and maybe there's better solutions to what we're doing, because as you would be aware, the credit debit system that they run currently is prolific. There's many agents on there. I would say maybe 70, 80% of agents are on that debit credit system. So what's your thoughts on that? Firstly, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, definitely. So we've actually done some work with agents in the past, some from Ray White, and set them up. And the debit credit system is amazing to create a support in the back end, and it really helps young real estate agents build their feet and get their grounding. But where it really falls off is when it comes to taxation benefits, and really if you're earning over 130,000 a year is the real factor. Okay. And the reason why that's kind of the magic number is you've got what's called your marginal tax rate, and then you've got your effective tax rate. So people look at the marginal tax rate, 47% being the highest. Obviously, it's just changed recently. But the effective tax rate is the key one. So when you're earning 130,000 a year, your effective tax rate is about 24.5%. So let's call it 25%. Mm-hmm. Over that, your effective tax rate becomes higher than 25%. Now, what you can do as a real estate is you can set up a company. and run it through a company. Company tax rate is 25%. So once you've passed that effective tax rate portion, there's huge amounts of benefits of having it within a company. That comes into multiple things. So things like you can retain your earnings within a company. So if you know you're going to have a quiet period, let's say you're having a baby. I'm in that boat. Next year, I'll be having a young one. So the idea there is you can retain earnings, and then if you're going to have some time off work, you can then start paying it in a different financial year.
Yeah, sure. There's more tactics involved, I suppose. I run the similar, so I've run through a company trust, and it's always been so beneficial for us. With the idea, I suppose, is to make the money, spend the money, then get taxed on that, rather than make the money, get taxed, and then spend what you've got left.
Correct, exactly. And then you point on it perfectly. If that company is owned through a discretionary trust, and you can have multiple beneficiaries. So what that means is if your partner is a stay-at-home and don't have much income, you can drip feed the dividends through to that trust, which is then distributed to your partner whose marginal tax rate is 0. So all of a sudden you're going from potentially being on a 47% tax rate down to a 25% or even lower to a 0% tax rate, and anywhere in between.
It's huge, isn't it? I think a lot of real estate agents don't actually understand this part. I've had the privilege of running a company prior to this. We got set up with our accountants, and we'd spoken to the right people to make sure we're doing everything correctly so we could maximise what we're doing, because I'm not a fan of tax. I don't know about you.
Call it a necessary evil.
Sure.
At the end of the day, without tax, who's going to pick up the bins, who's going to clean the streets and things like that? But I definitely wouldn't put any unnecessary money with the government, because we all know they're not the greatest at spending it. So for that reason, I would definitely look at minimising your tax in the legal possible ways, and then also turning it into being able to maximise your wealth. So if you think about, if you own your home and you're able to reduce your tax from a 47% tax bracket to a 25% tax bracket, that excess cash flow there, if you put that on your home loan, all of a sudden your debt's reducing quicker. And then you can start getting into debt recycling strategies and like investment, wealth accumulation and things like that. So it not only does it benefit you from a tax perspective, but it benefits you from a wealth accumulation perspective as well.
Can we talk about a few myths that are out there? So some people think that they should be putting their money into long-term deposits. Is that the right wording?
Yeah, term deposits.
Term deposits.
Yep.
Some people, think stockpiling money away, hiding cash, which obviously decreases in value.
You're spot on there. So look, my general view on it is you should have at least 3 months of your expenses in cash, especially in an industry where it can be quite lumpy. Sure. So you might not get paid for a month, and then the next month you might get 2 or 3 large commissions. Definitely have at least 3 months in cash.
Yep.
No questions asked. Anything happens, you're covered. Outside of that, it really depends on your time frame. If you need that cash in a year's time, term deposits is the way to go, especially now with interest rates so high. But if you look at investing in shares or property or anything like that, and I don't need to tell you guys about property, you're well across it. But if you're talking about shares, like if you look at the US market, for the past 1 year, it's risen over 18% for the past year. Now, inflation is currently sitting at 4%. Leaving the money in cash is currently sitting at 4.5%, 5% if you leave it with the bank. Term deposits may be 5.5%, as opposed to 18%.
Yep.
So inflation is eating away at 3/4 of the money, yet you still have to pay tax on the earnings. So you're going backwards by leaving money in cash. You really are. And then we go back to the business structure. Yep. By paying dividends out from that, you can actually receive franking credits, which is a tax offset for your income. Again, if you're invested in franked investments, that only provides further franking benefits for you.
I haven't heard much about franking investments?
Yeah, definitely.
Talk to me.
So a franking credit is a company will pay tax their marginal tax rate. I'll use CBA as an example. So you invest money into CBA and they pay a dividend. Let's say they pay you $100 dividend. That will come with a 30% franking credit. Reason for that is CBA have already paid that tax on it. So when you come to do your tax refund at the end of the year, you have a 30% credit on your tax, essentially.
Gotcha.
Now, if you've managed to reduce your tax to less than a 30%, you get a refund of those franking credits. Key if, and this doesn't affect your market too much here, but very key if you're retired and you're in pension, because it's a 0% tax rate. So they're the sort of things that you can really use to benefit your position even further.
Sure.
And accumulate wealth.
If I was to put you in our shoes, you're a real estate agent, you're making, so let's say $20,000 lump sums,
Yep.
let's say every 2 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
Typically that's fairly strong. Like if they're making 250 to 500,000 a year, that's a strong agent. It's definitely not our elite. Some guys are making 3 million plus.
Yeah, definitely.
But what's your financial advice for someone that's, cutting through that tax bracket now? They're in 250,000 to 500 grand they're making.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't get into gambling is what I say.
Mate, stay away from gambling and understand what you're investing in. So I have to put the disclaimer here. It's not financial advice. It's general in nature only. But look, at the end of the day, reach out to a financial advisor. Have it structured so it's within a company. That's key. Then you've got a discretionary trust underneath that. Pay yourself a set wage, and then you can retain earnings in the company. You can invest within the company. If you've got family members that aren't on the income, you can distribute it to them via the discretionary trust. Not only does that protect your assets, but it also reduces your tax. So that would be absolutely key. That would be a no-brainer. Outside of that, you start. Even if you don't, let's say you've got a partner that is on over 130,000, you and your partner, so you say, well, where can I distribute that income from? You can distribute it to an investment company, which has a low tax rate. That's a 30% tax rate. Keep building it out there outside of your existing company as a way to separate your assets, but it's still protected, low tax rate, and it can continue growing until you hit retirement.
And then if we go back a little bit, there's these agents that are on debit credit.
Yep.
And it's tough. Real estate in the first year, I think we have an 80 to 90% dropout rate. It's huge, right? So obviously
I can imagine
that debit credit is there to give them that boost if they need it. And sometimes from here they can draw back if they need $1,000 for marketing and make it work. And like it's such a tough industry which people don't really appreciate. I think they go, oh, real estate agents, they make so much money, but it takes 2, 3 to 5 years to really cement your spot. So I guess where I'm heading with that is, what do you recommend for someone if they're not making overly much? Say we're saying 60 to 70,000, they've got to put maybe 10 to 15 of that towards their own marketing and really push.
Yep.
How do they invest a smaller amount of money?
Yeah, definitely. So, look, I always find keeping it simple is the easiest. Like, there's plenty of platforms out there now that charge zero brokerage if you're just trying to drip in small amounts. But you've really got to focus on your time frame. If you're going to need that money in 2 months' time, you're not wanting to invest for 2 months. Anything can happen in the market in a 2-month window. I saw a really interesting couple of stats recently that to achieve $1 million with investments, the first 100,000, so 1/10 of that portfolio, takes 26% of the time to achieve. So you earn less in more than a quarter of the time than any other part of that journey.
Yep.
But it's about getting started. And that's the hard thing. People, it's slow. It's a grind to start off with. But once you hit that 100,000, this includes for supers and things like that, it starts taking off. So I didn't realize it was such a high dropout rate for real estate in the first thing. I suppose this is where your marketing comes into play quite a bit. Yeah,
Save the agents.
Definitely. So it's interesting. Having worked with them, I do think the debit credit system was created for a reason, because it's needed.
Yep.
But once you've built that solid base and you're over that 130,000 commission base, or at least you're looking like you're getting there,
Yep.
make the change.
Yep.
Make the change, reach out, and yeah, it doesn't take much to set one up. And having done it multiple times, we can tailor it directly to your situation. Things like people distribute to their parents if their parents are retired. Keep in mind they have to be self-funded retirees because it will affect age pensions and things like that. So, but it's definitely worthwhile setting it up.
What's the sort of cost involved to build the company? Is there extra insurances that we need to know about? So if someone's thinking, okay, I'm going to go build a trust, a company, I'm going to get this shit sorted.
Yep.
Is it going to cost them 5-10 grand? What are we expecting?
No, it's a lot less than that. I've seen them start as low as 1,500, and as high as about 10 grand.
Yeah.
So it does vary, but if you're new, it's starting, and you should easily save way more than that in your first year in tax. So when you look at a return on investment in the real estate world, you'd tell your clients to jump at it. So yeah, there's no question about that.
Now, my financial structure, doing what I do, I think my setup was about 3,000.
Yep.
Worth every cent, triple over. I can't believe I at some point did know about this.
I think the scariest thing is the number you highlighted earlier, but 70-80% are on the debit credit system.
Yep.
If that's not alarm bells ringing, because they're just handing money back to the tax agent.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of them might have mortgages, they might have, which is all stuff they can pay down and better support their family. Better support their lifestyle more than anything. It's not just about accumulating wealth. That's a big factor. But if you get to go on an extra holiday just from the tax you save with your kids, take them to Disneyland, that is a no-brainer. And that's memories that they'll cherish forever, all just because you set up a trust structure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, and then in terms of extra expenses in that trust structure, I think I'm doing not too bad, but I'll get your opinion. So how much can we, as a real estate agent, what can they actually start claiming? Like, what is it that is different to what they're doing now? Is there certain things like their car and their marketing and...
Yeah, definitely. So within the company, I should say, not within the trust structure, because you want the company to own it. The trust owns the shares in the company. There's a lot you can do. So you alluded to it earlier. It's about having your expenses first. And then I know a lot of people might pay for the real estate agent fees out their own pocket after tax. Those sort of things are company expenses now. If you're using the car, real estates are always driving around on their car. You can utilise things like the instant asset write-off, which allows you to write off your car in one tax year. So if you have a really good tax year or a really good income year, you can use these strategies to write it down. Decide to purchase property, you can depreciation schedules and things like that. That's all things you can factor in. So you're spot on the money there. It's about building that in that sense. But on the flip side, there's also other things you can do. So if you're on a debit credit system and you're trying to reduce tax, and I don't recommend this for everyone, it really is an age factor, because a lot of people, like someone that's 30 years old, putting money into super locks it away for a long period of time unless they're trying to purchase a home. But agents that are a bit older that might still be on this system, if their superannuation, for instance, is below 500,000, any contributions they haven't put into super for the previous 5 years, they can put in and claim a tax deduction.
That's interesting.
I had someone recently, they hadn't done it for 5 years, self-employed. We ended up putting about 120,000 in as a tax deduction. So their income went from 180,000 down to paying tax on 60 grand. It was about a 48,000 tax saving.
Wow.
And to do that, the advice cost was 3 grand.
Yeah.
48,000 to 3, let alone anything else that was included. They were very happy. They're very chuffed, and they had been seeing their accountant for 5 years now.
I think it's one of those things that people think it's actually, I don't own a company or I don't own these things, so I don't really get these tax benefits. Whereas I think this is important about this chat is it's so open to anyone to utilise.
Correct, exactly. It is PayYG often gets left in the lurk in terms of their benefits, what they can do. There is a lot you can do still to maximise your situation. I touched on the point of debt recycling a couple of times there. That is where you use your primary place of residence, free up some of the equity. You guys would know that with investment properties more than anything. But you can do that with shares. If you don't have the available equity for that second home, you can use that, invest in shares, build that portfolio, allow you to pay it off your home, ready for the property. So rather than the equity being freed up over 5-6 years, you can do it in 2 or 3 years. All the tax deductions, paying off the home loan, accelerating wealth.
Probably one of my last few questions for you. So if we go back to property investing for you, how often are you prescribing that? Is that the right word?
Yeah, recommending it for clients. Yes, quite often. There's no doubt in Australia that property has boomed. There's no doubt about it. And I was actually quite shocked yesterday. I was doing some research, and one of the statistics showed that the Australian government approved 6.5% less properties to be built last month.
Right.
Yet we're in a housing crisis. So property prices aren't going anywhere. I generally don't believe property prices are going anywhere. I don't need to tell you guys that. They continue to grow. So for that reason, yes, we do recommend purchasing property, and it really comes down to a client's position. Are they looking for income, or are they looking for capital growth?
Yeah.
Right now, with the rate interest rates are, it's very hard to find a positively geared property if you're 100% leveraged. So a lot of that is around capital growth, but we're seeing it. So there's no concerns in there. Buying in the right areas, buying good properties, we're seeing the capital growth there.
I'm in it every day, obviously, and we're around every suburb, around close. We're obviously in that middle of Brisbane and Gold Coast. It feels like it's the Brisbane and Gold Coast right now. We're selling homes in places which people were selling for 200,000 to 300,000 only 5 years ago, and now going for 800,000 to 900,000. And everyone's going, holy shit, when is it going to end? I don't think it is.
I just don't see it. I've done quite a bit of research in this area for this. So the Australian population is growing by about 620,000 a year on average. About 500,000 of them is immigration, which is one of the reasons why unemployment is so low, because we've got all these people coming in, spending money and things like that, which is amazing. Yet they only approved 120,000 new homes. Now, if we break those numbers down a little bit further, you got 500,000 people. The average family is 2.5 people. So they need 180,000 homes just to support immigration levels. And they're coming in with money. It's not going anywhere, and let alone people turning 18, 19, 20 trying to get into the market. I think the average first buyer now is 36 years old now.
Yep, we did hear that.
So, yeah, it's not going anywhere. We've got the Olympics in Brisbane. A lot of infrastructure's going in there. I think one of the key factors really will be transport. They really need to expand on the transport to bring some of those outer suburbs into the centre. But in saying that, property, I just don't feel like it's going anywhere. So I know Ray Wright's one of the biggest out there, and they do unbelievable jobs. But yeah, for that reason, we do recommend property for clients, as long as it's not going to put them in financial stress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people, and especially these youngins coming through, still need to realise, you drop all your money onto a house and potentially not ready for it. It leaves you high and dry. Something goes wrong. It's like, just whilst we need to get in probably as quickly as possible at this rate, also don't hock yourself, because we see it all the time in real estate that people have done that, and then 2 years later they have to sell and they're desperate to sell.
Yep. And I don't think people factor in the cost of entering the market.
Yeah.
You've got your stamp duties. Yes, first home buyers get concessions there, but you do have solicitor fees, lender's mortgage insurance. Often you see first home buyers buy expecting it to go up, but haven't factored in the cost in between that. And like you say, if they're trying to sell 2 years later, they're having a few issues there.
Yes, correct.
So,
can you talk to me very quickly about how we can maximise our property investments within trust structures or company structures to actually get tax breaks as well?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few things. So you really got to break it up into three areas. So you can hold property within a company, within a trust, in your personal name. So things like in your personal name, you get the tax negatively geared properties, you get the tax benefit straight away. You can prepay interest for the year, so for the following year. So if you've really got a large tax outcome coming up this year, you can prepay it.